Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name's Mike Kawarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. Two reviews, conservative news. Craig, we got to keep going. We're late. We got to get caught up.
Oh, well, let's party all the time then.
I stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image of me that you're used to. I look money, a king bee making honey, see? Deep state, I hope you're ready for me. Now gather round, I'm the new sheriff in town. All my people rise up and stand your ground. Now drink up all the Diet Coke you got on your shelf. So just let me introduce myself, my name is Trump D. I like my mashed potatoes lumpy. Fake news, oh how I like to punk thee. That little sniper on the slow tin, he took a shot but he missed me. I don't fall, y'all, I'm like the ever-ready bunny. Still going strong and spunky. So put on your big boy pants. Come on, let's do the dance.
The Trumpy dance is your chance to do the Trump.
Come on, do the Trumpy Trump. Come on and do the Trumpy Trump. Check me out, y'all. We do the Trumpy Trump. Just watch me do the Trumpy Trump. Yeah. Do you know what I'm doing? We do the Trumpy Trump. Come on, everybody do the Trumpy Trump. It's time to do the Trumpy Trump. Yeah. My favorite dish is a double Big Mac, cause I find it quite delicious. I ate up all your fries cause it's scrumptious. Hey yo, my squirrel, Peanut, are you listening? Yeah, they took you out like a rat. Why they treat you like that? It never would have happened, not with me. And yeah, safe to assume.
Had some stuff I had to do, just got into the studio. Absolutely positively could not go without doing the show today because if y'all have been paying attention, Trump made his position loud and clear that this is his party. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's show. We're going to talk about the fact that this is Trump's party. But before we get into any of the conversations, let's start it off with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah. We're running out of time. Say hi to our good friends at Hitman, California Republican Assembly, Hog Holsters, and USCombatGear.com. There we go, just like that. Folks, don't listen to. He didn't want to do the show. Monday, he's like, I don't know. I said, it's a holiday off. Tuesday, he's like, I don't know. And I've been beating him up. I'm like, man, we got to do all Trump all the time. And about halfway through the show today, he's like, all right, I give in. Let's do it. You're right. Trump's the man. Let's do the show.
Okay, it didn't exactly go down like that. But yeah, it was definitely a point o' need. We definitely had to make sure to be on here today because I will show this video that Mike sent to me, and it pretty much says it all because all of the media is talking about this right now. So this will kind of give you the reason why I'm saying this is Trump's party.
This is his scorecard, okay? He has endorsed 8 governors. He won 8 times. U.S. House, 101 endorsed, and he won 101. U.S. Senate, Sean, he has endorsed 8 candidates. And now you can take the endorsement from 8 to 9 endorsed, and from 8 to 9 winner. Ken Paxton was outspent 9-1.
I think that's really kind of clear, Mike. Here's the thing, and once again, we'll talk a little bit about what this means for the general election, but in the primaries, when it comes to a Republican running against, and by the way, Donald Trump only really endorsed in races where he either knew the person and liked him or had somewhat of a close connection with the person,
yeah,
or where the person was running against someone who had stood up, who had opposed Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is undefeated.
Yeah, I think the endorsement might be better if you're running against someone that's wronged Trump. I think that's probably the more strong of the two. Yeah, it's not even been close in most cases.
No, not even remotely close. And by the way, that, like I said, I'll just say this again. That says a lot, and it says a couple of things. One, I think that, once again, I've always said this. I always said I am not MAGA as much as I am a conservative. I just believe there's a lot of overlap between MAGA Republicans and conservative Republicans. One instance is, MAGA Republicans support I mean, we're talking 100% on just about every issue. That, by the way, that includes the war in Iran, which there are some conservatives who have some concerns about the war in Iran. That includes the tariffs, which some conservatives have issues with. I have issues with the tariffs themselves, not so much with how he's used them to renegotiate deals. But folks have some issues. Folks have some concerns, and he's proven that when it comes down to it, it's MAGA that has brought the Republican Party back, not even really the conservatives.
Correct. And the ones that have opposed him have ended up looking foolish, because every time he makes one of these decisions, he comes out on top. We joked that all he does is win, win, win. But, if it wasn't for the few Trump derangement syndrome Republicans out there and the federal Democratic appointed judiciary, the country we'd be done by now. His 4-year plan would have been done by now, rather opposed to them trying to delay everything he's doing.
Well, yeah, no, and but a couple of things that I will say is, number one, folks need to get on board. If you are a MAGA or if you are a conservative, you need to get on board with some of this stuff, because here's the deal. The problem with everything he's done via executive order can be undone with the next president. So the idea, and by the way, even if we win the next presidency, the next president that is not MAGA, that's not conservative, that's not Republican, can undo it. So eventually Congress has got to get their act together. Trump is sitting on about $356 million. I have a feeling he's going to wind up kicking in a lot of that money in these upcoming midterms.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's part of the goal, Craig, was to take the things that he's done from executive order and turn them into law and run them through Congress. He needed a Congress on his side. Well, what's he been working on the last year?
Well, you know what? Between redistricting, between the fact that on some, the biggest thing for him is going to be two things. Number one, he realized that for some of the stuff he's doing, there's still going to be some growing pains, and we may or may not be out of it and moved on by the time the election comes around. So he wants to a certain degree, kind of move the numbers his way in terms of likely districts that Republicans can win. So that was going to be number one. The other thing is, I honestly do believe that some of the things that are issues now, like gas prices, will not be an issue when the fall election comes around. I honestly believe that'll be done.
Let me say this about gas prices real quick, just because you bring it up. I don't know how much gas is out there in California, $12, $13 a gallon, something like that. I have no idea.
$42 a gallon.
42. Okay, got it. In Florida, before the president took back the federal taxes off of gasoline, the tax excise. It's by the way, that it was $4.50 here, basically average. They he took away the 18 cents. He took away the 18 cents per gallon. Okay. So if it's 4.5 per gallon, right? So you're talking 4.5 gallons of gas, right? That's 81 cents. Gas has gone down here about 30 cents. What happened to another 50 cents? Huh? How come nobody's on top of these oil companies for keeping that extra money and put it in their pocket? Why didn't it just drop 81 cents immediately? They decided to not lower the rates that much and put more money in their pockets, the greedy bastards.
Well, you do have some profit taking. Let's just be real. You do have some of that profit taking that's taking place. That's what is funny. Gavin Newsom tried to go after Chevron, because out here, I don't know about anywhere else, but out here, Chevron is like 70, almost 80 cents a gallon more than any place else. But you can go to the AM PMs or the mom and pop shops and you can get gas significantly cheaper, but it's still expensive. I mean, I just keep in mind, when I was out there last, gas was like $2.89 a gallon.
Yeah.
So gas is definitely up, and we know why it's up, and Trump's not denying why it's up. He's just saying if it means keeping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, it's worth it for now. I happen to agree with him. On that, as long as it's not a permanent thing. And I think that I do not believe it is going to be a permanent thing. And I think anyone in their right mind who's objective would also believe that's not going to be a permanent thing.
The problem with the permanent thing is it's not the government setting the price. It's the greedy oil companies setting the price. The price of gas per gallon prior to the what's going on with Iran was basically the same price it was pre 9/11. It should have been gas should have been $1, $1.25. But once they knew you're willing to pay $4 or $5 for it, they're never going to let you have that back again. They're going to keep increasing their profit margin that they're going to keep. Why we can't take them and put them in a room and say your monopoly's over, I don't understand. We could do it with every other industry, but not with them.
Well, when gas was under $3 or down around $3, I felt like that was doable, right? But we haven't been, at least in California, we haven't been around $3 for a while now.
Well, that $3 price was the same gap price that a barrel of oil was costing us pre 9/11.
Right. Well, right. You also have to keep in mind that we also have the 20 to 25% that Biden inflation has increased the cost of everything.
As well as ironically, I did send you another email or video. I don't know if you saw the one where Biden was telling the country that you're just going to have to put up with high gas prices until he figures it out.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did. I'll download that one. We'll play it for folks. Well, let me ask you this, man. So now that this is Trump's party, how is that different than say it being Ronald Reagan's party or a conservative party? What do you see as the primary differences between Trump, MAGA, and then traditional conservatives? Don't say establishment, because we already know the problem with the establishment Republicans. I'm not even talking about them. But I mean the difference between the conservative Republicans and the MAGA Republicans. Because right now, MAGA's running the GOP.
So I don't see it as a policy thing, Craig. It's not a policy thing for me. That when you talk about the difference between the Reagan party and the Trump party, what that tells me is the party's united. Doesn't matter to me what the policy is. I have a party that's united 80, 90% behind their president, behind their leader, as opposed to being split and fighting among them, like you're going through right now in California with your governor's election. There's no split on when you have a united party and you call it the MAGA party or the party of Trump. When you called it the Reagan Republican Party, they were united in what they did behind one man.
Well, and that's the thing. So in actuality, and this is the funny part, is other than the fact that there are two different candidates and they're fighting with each other, ideologically, there's no difference. I mean, there's very little difference between Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. Either one of them would be worlds better than anything the Democrats have to offer. My frustration is they're spending so much time beating up on each other. And I'm like, you're spending money against each other, time, energy, effort, and money against each other. And all you're doing is keeping each other's numbers down. Spend some money, spend some time, energy, and effort going after the Democrats. Get whoever there's two Democrats right now that have a shot to make it into the top two. You need to get them out of there so that the two of you are in the top two. Then y'all in the general election, y'all can fight it out. But you're right. There's got to be a unified purpose. And there are some people, and I'll put Thomas Massey in that group. There are some people who have allowed the perfect to become the enemy of the good. Meaning, if we can move in the right direction, it may not be the best, it may not be what you want, but if it gets us closer to where we want to be, then you need to get on board and you need to support it. You can even voice your reservations. But you still got to say, look, this is a move in the right direction. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And at some point, your race out there in California, hopefully at least 30 days out, one of them says, I'm out.
Well, we're less than a week out, so it's not going to happen. But
no, it's okay.
In the end, what's going to happen is Steve Hilton in every single poll that's been done, he's been in the top two. So there's Steve Hilton is going to be in the top two. The question is whether or not Chad Bianco can get enough support to wind up also in the top two. And I think, in my opinion, him going after Steve Hilton is wrong. He needs to be going after those Democrats. He needs to be fighting for second or third. I mean, for second, not for first.
Yeah.
He needs to be fighting for second. And, once again, you got people who, and this is unfortunately, one of the things that happens in our primaries is we treat somebody, even if they agree with us 80, 90%, we treat them like the enemy if they're running against our candidate.
Yeah.
And my problem with that is that to people on the outside who are not politically engaged, you might dissuade them from even voting in the general election because you were so rabid. And some of the things they're saying, I mean, some of the things that Bianco supporters are saying about Hilton and the things that Hilton is saying about Hilton's folks are saying about Bianco, first of all, are lies. I mean, when I say lies, at the very best, they are exaggerations. They are, you take a little nugget and you extrapolate it to call it the truth.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot with things that people are doing to Donald Trump, right? Well, because he was like trying to move on from the Epstein files, now all of a sudden they've gone from calling him saying that he's in the Epstein files to he's trying to protect pedophiles. They're even trying to say he's even just a pedophile. No evidence, no facts, no nothing. That's the sort of stuff that you're seeing happen in this campaign.
Right. Needs to end.
Right. I'm like, promote your guy. Tell me why your guy is such a good guy. Why I should vote for your guy. I don't need to know about that other dude unless you've got something factual, not innuendo, not something coming from a partisan who we know is in someone's camp. Give me some solid, substantive stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I know people get mad at me. There are people out there who get mad because they're like, why are you always defending Donald Trump? I said, when Donald Trump has done things that I disagreed with, I've said it. I've pointed it out. I said he just doesn't do a lot of stuff that I disagree with. I don't know what to tell you.
Because he's winning.
He's winning. I don't know what your problem is. He's winning. And the things that I did, some of the things that I've disagreed with him on, guess what? I was wrong.
Yeah.
He was winning. So I was wrong. So, there are things that he's disagreed with that I know I'm not wrong. But in the grand scheme of things, okay, so dude has a 97 out of 100. What do you want me to do?
Yep.
What do you want me to do? The only other stuff they got against him is all lies. But so let me ask you this. Now, this is the other thing, because one of the things that's happened in the past, and this happened in 2018, was Trump's nominees also did well in the primary elections, but didn't do so well in the general elections. Right? We saw that in 20, and we saw that in 2018. Do you think that changes this time around?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's a numbers game. Look at it before. It was his success rate before was at the 60-70% mark, right? Well, it's at 100 now. It's at 100. So you're talking that much better they're going to be when they get to the general election.
Yeah, so hopefully, and this what that's got to mean though is those candidates who are the Trump supported candidates, they've got to go out of their way to reach out to those candidates they run against, and they have to get their support. They have to get them out there active and engaged and helping to support them so that we can hold on to the House, so that we can hold on to the Senate, so that we can hold on to some of these governorships. Sadly, once again, in some of these Republican primaries, we got people who are making enemies. And I'm like this. Look, I look at it this way. When I ran for Congress, I ran against a candidate named Christine Bish, right? When it was all said and done, we were on the same team. We were just fighting for the starting spot, right? One of us was going to get a chance to go up and be the number one person, to get to be the person to go up against the Democrat. And, I looked at it that way because once she became the nominee, it was incumbent upon me to see what I could do to help her out, because in the end, I'd much rather have her than I would the Democrat that was running against her. And I don't understand why we don't have that same sort of we have to have that same sort of attitude in the national elections. But the other thing that we got to do is, how about we not do things that are going to get in the way of that being able to happen? You know what I mean? I mean, let's just be honest. If you call someone a pedophile, you can't turn around and then endorse them or support them in the general election.
Right. Right. But, that's a Democrat move right there, And It's flowed over to the other side.
Right. Now, one other thing that I wanted to note and was really important, in particular when it comes to selection, dealing with Ken Paxton, him beating out Conyer. Now, anyone who knows anything about gun rights knows John Conyer was not a friend of gun owners. Was that an overstatement?
No, accurate.
He's definitely not a friend of gun owners. I'm not saying I would go as far as to say he was anti-gun, although I believe he was. I'm sorry, he was. He wasn't as bad as some Democrats, but he didn't support gun rights as though it were a right. He was more one of those, I'm willing to grant you some permissions.
Yeah.
Right? He was willing to grant more permissions than the anti-gunners, but he never really treated the Second Amendment like it was a right. Paxton, on the other hand, he's solid Second Amendment.
Yeah. Yes, he is. So, good news.
Very, very good news. Now, Paxton does have a few issues. I would love to know, and it would be real interesting to talk with Colonel West, because him being so involved in Texas Republican politics. What is the deal? Why do Texas Republicans have such an issue with Paxton?
I don't know. It's a good question. We'd have to put him on and find out. Yeah, we could probably figure that out.
Yeah, that's just I mean, because keep in mind he got impeached. They did a trial they basically was able to avoid being removed from office. But I'm like, I mean, that was Republicans who did that to him. Well, Republicans with the support of Democrats.
Yes. Yeah, not sure. Just a local issue, I guess.
Right. The other thing to note was, now in the general election, I mean in the primary, in the first election, it was really close. It was something like 41-40, something like that. And then once they hit the runoff, and then Trump threw in his endorsement, it was like 2/3 to 1/3. What do you make of that?
That Trump has sway. that his word is the golden ticket.
Do you know who Wesley Hunt wound up endorsing? Did he wind up endorsing Paxton?
I do not know who Wesley endorsed, if he did at all.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. Who did Wesley Hunt endorse? Nope, he backed Paxton. Yep. So
okay.
Now I'll tell you what. If I had a choice of the three, Wesley Hunt would have been the dude.
Sure, absolutely.
He would have been the dude that I would have liked to have had. Number one, he's not part of he's not an insider.
Right.
But if there was a guy who is, I mean, what I like about him is he's very effective at going into the enemy's camp, going on liberal media and challenging them and making them look like fools. Kind of like Byron Donald is very good at that. Marco Rubio is very good at that. And I think to a certain degree, the next generation of Republican leaders have to be comfortable going into the lion's den and taming the lions.
Well, it's what we need. We've gotten to the point where, remember, politicians just became the right person that we knew we could get elected, as opposed to these people that are leaders,
right,
and putting them in these positions.
It's amazing what happens when you put leaders in positions. They get elected. They can get elected. That's the big thing. And when you have people who are solid in their values, who are committed to their values, and I will say this, Marco Rubio is not the Marco Rubio who ran for president in 2016. He's not.
His hands are bigger.
His hands are bigger. According to President Trump.
Yes.
According to President Trump, his hands are officially bigger. So what do you think this means, man? Tell me, what do you think this means for the general election? I mean, what do you think we can look forward to coming up here?
I mean, retain control of the House easy. let's see how much it increases. The percentages that these candidates are taking in the primaries are obviously going to come down a little bit because Democrats will be going to the ballot box right alongside of them, and there'll always be a couple people that are just uneducated voters, name recognition kind of people. But I still see the victories across the board.
I think a big part of that is as you remember, the Democrats actually they did a postmortem, right? They did an autopsy.
Yep.
And the result of the big takeaway from their autopsy was they didn't do an effective job communicating. In other words, their policies weren't the problem, according to them. Right. Boys and girls bathrooms or boys and girls sports wasn't the issue for them. Runaway inflation was not an issue for them. Millions of people streaming across the border weren't an issue for them. In other words, they weren't liberal. It wasn't that they were too liberal. It wasn't that they were too progressive. It wasn't that they were too Marxist. It was that they didn't do an effective enough job communicating about it. I think.
Well, that's true.
I think whoever did that postmortem needs to be charged with malpractice.
Yeah, yes. Because they didn't communicate about the things they need to communicate to get elected. Like, I don't know, the issues.
Well,
it's not that they're not communicating about their issues, Craig. It's that their position on their issues is wrong.
Well, exactly. And the results are proving it. That's why I'm like, okay, somehow we got to try and find a way to get gas prices down. We got to try and find a way to get people feeling better about the economy, because here's the deal. No matter how good the president is doing, if people don't feel good about the economy, that's not going to spell good news for Republicans. So we got whatever has to happen needs to start happening soon so that the economy can be flowing by October. By September, October.
Agreed. And here comes another microdamus, prediction. Once this Iraq thing is settled here shortly, and you see that gas prices are not coming back down to where they should be because of greed in the oil companies, he is going to have a come to Jesus meeting with the oil executives, and
Yes.
the country is going to be put on notice that he's doing what he can. It's other greedy people that are taking money out of your pocket.
Well, the first thing that's going to happen is he's going to do it. He's going to do it behind closed doors. He's going to say, "Look, let's just be real. The next president, if we don't win this, if we don't do this, chances are you guys are going to wind up. You guys, look, all this deregulation that I've been doing, it's going to get undone. So you better get on board. You need to, if you want to continue to make money, you better let go of the short-term profits in order to get into the long-term profits."
You can either get back on the diesel-powered Trump train, or you can go back to EV cars.
There you go. We did a story last week. Honda lost money for the first time in 70 years. Since they got on the stock market, they lost money.
Yep.
Why? Because of EV cars. There's only one company that's really making a significant amount of money and being profitable in the EV market, and that's Tesla. And that,
and that's because that's all they do. That's all they do. I listen. Look, it's always made this kind of sense to me. All right, if I want, if I want a hamburger, I'm gonna go to a hamburger joint, right? If I want fish, I'm gonna go to a fish place. But now all of a sudden, the guy that makes hamburgers wants some of that fish money, so he's gonna go make a fish sandwich. Well, it kind of sells barely, but he just keeps it around so he can say he's in that market. No, how about you focus on? Hey, American motor companies, why don't you focus hard on what you're good at, and focus on those gasoline powered cars rolling out of Detroit.
Right, making them more fuel efficient.
That's right. Tesla, go out and do what you're going to do. Honda, Japanese motor cars.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If you want EV cars for your country, run them over there. But that's not what we want here.
No, because once again, we've the biggest problem is that once the government started getting into manipulating the market, that's when you wind up people putting out vehicles that were crap. I'm sorry, but they were not ready to go. Although I'm still not gonna lie, I want that Hummer EV.
Yeah, that way you got enough enough energy to pull it in and out of your driveway.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. It's a nice looking vehicle. I like it when I want to watch you do that crab walk.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, look, folks, for those of you out there who are not Trump supporters, let me just tell you something. I'm just going to ask you to do an objective look. I'm going to tell you, look, do me a favor, just, get yourself a drink, get yourself some whiskey or some bourbon, right? Consider that your Trump derangement syndrome syrup, right? That'll get you beyond it, right? That'll help you get over it. And then just stop and take an objective look at what's going on. And I think that in the end, what you're going to say is this: even with higher prices because of what's going on in Iran, things are much, much better now than they were under Joe Biden. I think it's kind of obvious that it is. If he can get past the, I hate to say this, he struts. Yeah, he brags. Yeah, I mean, the dude's full of himself. But you know what? He's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's getting
I
stuff done.
I like a president that does that though. So,
Well, my whole thing with the president is I'm like, you don't have to kick every barking dog. It's like he just does some stuff. It's like, you could tell he's just like, let me come here. But once again, in the end, who's winning? We're winning. If he's winning, we're winning. My point.
That's right.
Anyway, folks, well, that's going to be it for today's program. Once again, like I said, we were just going to talk about that, just have a good convo about that. But before we go, let's go ahead and give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep, get on over to Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Get yourself some AR rifles. They got everything you need: rifle caliber, pistol caliber, normal rifle, pistol, shotgun barrel. So check them out, hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in hog holsters, it's HAWG hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all cap. Get a nice little discount. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, for law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com where you get everything except the gun.
And I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at American Crossfire for tuning in. One of our most faithful viewers. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's program. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing this program with your friends. We will be back tomorrow on Thursday, Throat Punch Thursday. Till then, y'all have fun. Be safe. Peace out.